On April 3rd, that was the sound of the semi-automatic fire that greeted nightclubbers along Sacramento's K Street as the bars closed. Gunfire that we now know killed 6 people, some of them suspected shooters. Later today, Mtula Payton, the latest suspect tracked down just recently in Las Vegas, will face a judge in Sacramento. Since that incident, 10 lives were lost as a man believed to be targeting African Americans shot his way through a grocery store in Buffalo, New York. And the person who took deadly aim at 2 teachers and 19 students in Uvalde, Texas, was using a Hellfire device during his rampage, a device that makes semi-automatic weapons fire almost as fast as their banned fully automatic counterparts. Congressman Tom McClintock from Elk Grove with me now live as the gun reform deal hammered out by a bipartisan group of his colleagues is being discussed by a wider group of lawmakers. Good morning to you, Congressman.
Good morning.
Your fellow Republican in that other chamber, the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, has given this new bipartisan gun reform deal a major endorsement. That doesn't seal the deal completely, but it is very different than what's happened on this topic in the past. How are you feeling about what this bipartisan group has worked out and about McConnell's endorsement?
Well, they haven't worked out a deal yet. That's been the problem. They have a set of principles that have been unable to come to agreement yet on what those principles actually mean. That's often the problem with these things. So you have to wait until you see what they actually come up with. But overall, we've got 60 years of experience now with gun control laws. They are very effective at disarming law-abiding citizens. They're very ineffective at disarming criminals and madmen and terrorists. And you end up with a situation where the innocent are defenseless and the gunman is king. That was what happened at Uvalde. That's what happened at Buffalo. In fact, the Buffalo gunman and his twisted manifesto reasoned very carefully that the best place to carry out a mass shooting was in a so-called gun-free zone because there wouldn't be anybody there to shoot back. The day after the Uvalde shooting, a individual carried an AR-15 style rifle and opened fire on a graduation party. But in that instance, there was a woman with a concealed weapon who was able immediately to return fire and killed him on the spot without any other injuries. We didn't hear about that mass shooting because there wasn't a mass shooting. There was a good guy with a gun there to stop him.
I have to ask you, you're talking about that this deal that is being discussed doesn't have everything hammered out. A provision in the deal is supposed to be making juvenile records of gun buyers under the age of 21 part of the required background checks before purchase. Do you have an opinion about that?
Well, I've got no problems with background checks as long as they don't unduly delay law-abiding citizens from obtaining weapons.
Okay.
Frankly, I don't think that background checks are going to accomplish much. These gun control laws are no more effective at keeping guns out of the hands of criminals than our drug laws are keeping drugs out of the hands of addicts. But as long as it doesn't inconvenience law-abiding citizens, they're certainly not objectionable.
You referenced just a minute ago a good woman with a gun. You spoke to Forbes a week ago saying basically the same thing, that no other way to stop a bad guy with a gun than a good guy with a gun. Unfortunately, there's a lot of evidence. We've been talking about Uvalde evidence, video and otherwise, that there many sworn armed officers just were, let's call it, too afraid to go up against the shooter there for more than an hour. These folks with all the training who drill about these kind of scenarios, and they did not go after the shooter. They were outgunned. Unarmed parents fought their way past them to get to their kids. So I know you brought up one instance where something like that worked, but in this particular one, that didn't work.
There's not just one incident. The studies indicate between 500,000 and 2 million crimes are stopped every year by citizens with firearms. That's a lot of crime that's been prevented because of the Second Amendment. But getting to your primary point, you're absolutely right. It's the person on the scene, in the classroom, in the school, who's in the best position to return fire. There's an old saying that the police can be there in minutes when seconds count. And you're right that even when the police arrive, as we saw at Uvalde, as we saw previously at Parkland, sometimes they don't do very much. These so-called gun-free zones, if you had a concealed weapons permit, you would not be able legally to carry a gun onto a school campus. Every administrator obeyed that law that day. Every teacher obeyed it. Every janitor obeyed it. The only person who didn't obey it was the gunman. And the result is 19 children dead. You know, it seems to me so obvious. We think nothing of seeing an armed guard at a bank or at a shopping mall. They're there to protect our money or our merchandise. And yet the left goes berserk when it's suggested that we ought to have an armed guard at every school to protect our children with the same force and resolve as we protect our money at a bank.
Well, it is going to be a debate that clearly will continue. I know that we really haven't heard about armed guards at schools. What we've heard most about is potentially arming teachers, and there's a lot of pushback from a lot of teachers, but we're going to have to put a pin in it there and definitely have you back to talk about this. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.